Hello, everyone. Welcome to 5 Cent Microphone, another random podcast about more random things. I am your host, Michael Goodman, and today with me are a couple amazing co-hosts. We've got Nick Ottinger.
Hey, what's up, Mike? Hey, how's it going, everybody? What is y'all's favorite candy, since it is the Halloween season right now?
And we've got Cody Hahn.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. And also, I just like all candy. I'm a sweet tooth guy.
Yeah, I mean, if people could, luckily it's a podcast, they don't see my physical size, but if you saw my physical size, you would know that I like all candy also.
I'm catching up, man.
Don't try too hard. Once you get to this point, you really don't like to be there. I'm gonna stop sitting here and pity over myself and continue to start this show here. Well, for today's episode, in the spirit of All Hallows Eve, we have each brought one fun, spooky topic to the table. And that first topic for you today is that trick-or-treating stemmed from an old tradition of collecting soul cakes.
So, what exactly are soul cakes made of, though? What are they?
Well, they're kind of like a shortbread biscuit. They have a lot of spices that they use. They're not always the same, but they use allspice, nutmeg, cinnamon, ginger. Those are like some of the popular ingredients. But it's kind of like a cookie-sized shortbread type of deal, almost like a pastry. And a lot of them would be filled with toppings inside. Oh, and they have a cross. Of course, they have a cross cut into the top.
Definitely.
They got to be blessed.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that seems to kind of stem from a little more of like the old traditions being rebranded later on from Catholicism taking it over and just taking over the Celts and all that whatnot, which is pretty interesting, honestly.
Yeah, it is really interesting, and it kind of, learning about them, it goes into a deeper dive of, why they did this. And one of the most interesting things I learned as I read about this topic is that there was an event called souling. And what that was is soulers, so people who would go souling, they would visit houses with hollowed out turnip lanterns with a candle inside, and that would represent that the people in that house believed they had a soul of a friend or family member trapped in purgatory.
Whoa.
I'm assuming the soul cake had something to do with that.
Yeah, soul cakes were used as like a blessing, kind of like I'll always butcher this. My Hispanic girlfriend will kill me, but kind of like in Dia de la Muertes. It's kind of like that. They would use these soul cakes for blessings, and people would go around to other homes to get soul cakes. They would beg for them. So the people that would generally go from home to home to get them was either children or people that were too poor at the time to make their own. So they would go to someone's house who was wealthier, and they would make extra. They would make some for themselves, and they would make some to give out. And that's kind of how trick-or-treating, the concept of it, stems from that. So, and it's really interesting, like I mentioned just a second ago too, turnip lanterns with a candle inside. That's what we know is kind of in modern days as a pumpkin with a candle inside. But we're not doing it to mark some soul in purgatory. We're just doing it because it looks, someone cut Rick and Morty into a pumpkin, and it needs to be lit up at night.
Yeah.
The whole thing about where trick-or-treating stemmed from, and how it's basically poor class people going to get soul cakes from other people on a specific day of the year. I mean, to me, it just kind of sounds like that's where the British poor boy trope came from. Oh, please, sir, can I have a soul cake? And it kind of, it's almost like it's tied together in a way. I'm sure that maybe there's some sort of thing going on there, but I mean, I didn't do a deep enough dive to go that far, but it does sound pretty interesting.
Well, it is really interesting to learn about things that we see in modern times and where those concepts stemmed from.
And unfortunately, like going back to pumpkins, I carved my pumpkin. It looks awesome, and like my girlfriend and I left them inside, and they got moldy. We didn't want them to get smashed, and
Mm-hmm.
so my pumpkin is outside of my door right now, and it is just lumpy, frumpy boy. It's not looking good.
Well, we didn't do pumpkins this year, but I have an awesome tip for you. I don't remember what platform I saw it on, but this lady kept getting her pumpkin smashed by kids in the neighborhood, so she brushed all over the pumpkin like ghost pepper oil. So if they pick up the pumpkins and smash them, they'll eventually touch their face and shit. And like I want to do that. Like I want to see a fucking teenage kid crying. Like I just think it would be the funniest thing.
I mean, like,
I thought you were gonna say she like encased it in like something like cement or something like that. So when they came to smash it, they just kept on fucking whacking away and nothing happening.
Ah, no, dude, kids are so lazy today. Like that would be too heavy. They wouldn't even bother. They'd be like, "Oh, fuck this. This is too heavy."
yeah. Well, so like going back to like soul cakes. So after the Christians were able to do what they do and force Christianity onto the Celts, the old traditions of Samhain were repurposed with a new festival. It was basically the same as usual, but now you got to pray for your dead relatives, like what you were talking about earlier. And in order to get like a soul cake from your fellow Celt bro wearing a monster hat or something, who knows? But by the 1950s, this evolved into the lovable injection of capitalism that that little Jimmy shot into his veins while dressed as George Bush during the 9/11 attacks. And now we have soul cakes instead of candy, and and now little Jimmy is a Lil Jimmy
Do you
with a
mean that
sweet
we
tooth.
have candy instead of soul cakes?
Well, yeah, candy instead of soul cakes, absolutely.
Well,
No,
you said we have soul cakes instead of candy.
I wish we had soul cakes instead of candy. I mean, think about the love that goes into like baking like a gift for people in comparison to just having some
Oh my
corporation
god,
like dictate.
yes.
Yeah.
Like
But
Halloween's
you
my
can't.
favorite
They'll have
holiday,
razor blades in them now. You can't do that. No one would ever. No one would ever allow that. They
Oh,
barely
I
allow
know.
trick or treating anymore. You
Yeah.
got schools doing these trunk or treats and stuff.
Well, even
Yeah.
in
mad.
even in the military, we do that. We do trunk or treats like a week out from
Fuck you
from
guys.
Halloween's. But also, if you do like the soul cake stuff, you're gonna like be labeled as one of those people, like the people that hand out apples.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you're one of those people that don't have candy. You just hand out treats of like food.
When I was like
They hand me a
4, I
fucking
got
toothbrush too.
holy shit, a toothbrush? Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is for after you eat the candy. It's just like fucking have this. It's
Be a
dangerous
good
to go
little
alone.
boy.
Yeah. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. And instead of like a light to protect you from like, demons, or maybe a light to, make sure that other drivers and other people know where you are, they just hands you a toothbrush. Just like, yeah, all right, cool. I can't
Yeah, it's
fight
not
off
like
any
my-
demons with this.
Yeah, it's not like my family already forces me to brush my teeth. God, Auntie.
Well, before we move away from soul cakes, I have one more interesting thing that I wanted to point out. And that is that as far as souling, to be a souler, associated traditions that were listed was consuming and distributing soul cakes, of course, singing, carrying lanterns, dressing in disguise, divination games, and my favorite, which I wish I had more time to explore, but carrying a horse's head.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds awesome. Like an actual horse's head, like you're,
I didn't have enough time to get into that, but that's what I assume because
That is so metal.
it seems more fun that way. Yeah,
oh, absolutely. I mean, like the horseless head man. you know.
Yeah.
Oh my
but-
gosh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I wish soul cakes were a thing, and and it's still practiced today in a lot of countries. I would like to try one, and I'm sure there's a lot of recipes out there. I'm sure I could get the missus to bake one or something, but I'd really like to try one. They look good.
Yeah, just try not to make one with saffron. It's just that spice is way too expensive. If I'm not mistaken, it is one of the most expensive spices in the world, and I know that it was very popular in the traditional recipes from doing research. But I would just stick to making the ones with like ginger.
Yeah, that's
something.
fine. Cinnamon, that's cool. That's I'll take a baked treat
Well,
with some
yeah,
cinnamon
and folks at home, like, you guys can still like throw a Halloween party and make some soul cakes for your friends. Make them for your family. Like, Halloween is way cooler than Christmas, and like, we gotta like jump up the game here. Like, I mean, what are we doing? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about making some for the family here.
I think you could make some for Christmas too, and you could celebrate Halloween on Christmas.
honestly, yeah. I mean, it might as well just dye my hair black and get a Jack Skellington tattoo at that point. But like,
Nick got it. Nick got what I did there. So, hello there. We'll be right back after this break.
thank you. Welcome back, and we're going to go on to our next topic, and that is going to be from Nick.
So today I have some fun, interesting facts that some of you may know, some of you probably don't know. It's just interesting facts about those old slasher horror movies. Some of them old. I mean, I got Scream in here also, so yeah.
I mean, sadly, that's old now. We're old. We're just old. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't think so. You guys, you guys
No,
got some,
you're the only one in here that's not old, Cody.
Yeah.
You have hair on your head. We have some hair on our head.
Yeah. I got more hair on my chest than on my head now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't grow facial hair very well, like at all.
When you hit puberty, you'll see. Nick, what's the first movie you're bringing up?
So first we're going to start off where it all kind of all started for slasher movies, and that is Halloween.
Okay.
Like with the fact that John Carpenter actually intended to call the movie Babysitter Murders.
What? Are
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude.
So
no way.
so Halloween was originally supposed to be a series of stories, not just I mean, of course, the iconic shape. That's if no one knows, that's actually what his name is the shape.
I did not know that. See, I'm learning all sorts of things. So you mean kind of more like a Tales from the Crypt, or like something like episodic, kind of different. Each movie would be like a different category altogether.
Yes, so the Michael Myers actually just hijacked the whole series by popularity.
Okay.
There was Halloween 3, which had nothing to do with Michael Myers. In fact, I think he only makes like a cameo in it.
oh yeah,
But it has
Season of the
nothing
Witch.
to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really liked Halloween 3. I think it actually is underrated because I did like how it kind of went with the anthology rather than just being this one bad guy, like Michael Myers. And so I did really like how that movie all played out. Yeah, it was pretty good.
So also there's the facts about the mask. Also, there was actually two masks that they were going for. One of them, they were like the only description they had was just the pale, natural features of a man. That was the description of the mask from what John Carpenter wrote for the screenplay. So they were stuck between the Kirk mask, which is what it is, and then a clown mask his name was Weary Willie.
What?
I just can't imagine any form of a clown mask, even if like the new redone version of it, what's supposed to be creepier, like working for Halloween.
Yeah.
Like it's just laughable. But that's probably because we know it for what it is already, Like, you imagine those scenes in Halloween, but it's got a fucking clown nose,
My question is like, we all know like the standard like Michael Myers walk, it's like really stiff, and I want to know, is his dick as hard as his arms are, like when he's walking around like that, when he's like getting close and he's just like, oh, I can't wait to fucking stab this bitch, like it's like, fuck,
Right?
man.
Well, I mean, at least he's doing the walk, whereas like people like Jason teleport across like the whole set.
Oh yeah, like just like oh
Yeah.
yeah, fuck it.
Always right behind you.
Well, I mean, Stephen King's It did the same thing. I mean, fucking clowns. Hello, little boy, and then just like, come on, dude. I thought the scene in the new version of It when like the kid gets fucking pulled into the fucking drain. I literally laughed my ass off. Like I couldn't take it seriously at all. Like the voice acting was like really weird and off-putting. And like it was kind of creepy, but like I just laughed. Like I just have a horrible sense of humor. But
No,
like my goodness.
I get that.
Yeah.
I laugh at and I love bad movies. Like we'll get together and we'll get a bunch of people together and we'll just watch bad movies. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's
Killer clowns
we
from outer space.
we love laughing at stuff like that. But back to your question, Cody, to what you were saying. Just like Mike Myers' walk, like his dick.
Yeah.
He'll eventually get there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stab you one way or another.
Yeah.
All right, what's another one you got?
So let's go ahead and touch on some Nightmare on Elm Street because I got a really interesting fun factoid about it, about how Wes Craven kind of like was inspired to create. Nightmare on Elm Street.
You know, in doing some of my research, I saw the header of what I think you're about to bring up, but I didn't get to research it a ton. So I'm excited to hear on this one.
So it was actually reported that 18 Laotian immigrants had mysteriously passed away in their sleep due to like a dream or like what everybody's assuming is a dream. From what I read in the reports, it seemed like it was a heart condition, but it was just the fact that 18 just out of nowhere among like 35,000 people just died.
Was this all in the same night?
I believe 17 of them were, and then an 18th one happened later on.
That is just
weird.
fucking wild. I mean, wow. Like Freddy. Whew.
Yeah.
But like, I mean,
Divide
does that
and
make him
conquer.
racist? Like, you know, because he's
Kind of.
specifically going for like, what did you say? Laotian? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Laotian?
Laotian. Okay. Laotian. Like lotion, but with an ow. Got it.
No, like putting lotion on your owie.
It's Laotian. Oh man. that's what Michael Myers
That's not
uses.
offensive at all.
Man, that's just crazy though. Like, man, 17 in a night.
Yeah,
Well,
they actually called it in their own medical literature as the Oriental Nightmare Death Syndrome.
Whoa. You know,
Well, were they having some sort of symptoms indicating they were having nightmares as well?
They were reluctant on getting any kind of information. It was really obscure. The only thing they can like I said, generally could have been attributed to a cardiac arrhythmia.
We'll see. Vague information is where myths are born.
Yeah, exactly. So from that stemmed, Freddy Krueger.
so Freddy was inspired by like a really horrific story. What an interesting way to go. Like in your sleep, and it gets named something like as metal as that. Like I don't know, man. That, I mean, it is pretty metal. Like let's be honest here. But like, wow, that is. I'm actually pretty appalled by that because like that's just a lot of people like dying from like this same fucking cause, like, and 17 of them in one fucking night. Like that's absolutely wild, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Is Freddy going to like do the same thing in any other region, or are we just gonna be like
Stemming across the U.S.
Yeah,
He's the one who started COVID. That's where it happened.
Oh my gosh, Freddy should kill COVID. That's what he should have done.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
I mean, because without people, like if people are dying from it, right? With the lack of people, then like he wouldn't be able to have people's dreams to go into, and like that's his favorite thing, you know. Like after getting burnt alive, you might as well fucking like kill people in their dreams, and I can understand that. I can relate.
Like, all I can imagine now is like Freddy going after Patient Zero, but like in the scene he's wearing a mask.
Oh my god.
And he's like, keep 6 foot distance.
Yeah.
You ready to get vaxxed, bitch?
Aw, bitch.
Oh, bitch. Well, yeah, because Freddy also, who was that? Scary Terry from Rick and
Scary
Morty.
Terry.
Yeah. Oh my God. We got your pants, dog. Don't even trip. Yeah, man.
Oh man.
I fucking love that.
Also, during one of their, I think it was in the first movie, it showed it the most, where he like glides his glove across a railing. They actually connected his glove to a car battery to achieve those like sparking effects that it was doing.
Oh, cool.
So just think of your hand now attached to a whole ass battery, and like,
all the shit that used to be done with practical effects rather than just like CGI elements.
yeah, I'm a huge fan of practical effects in movies.
Same.
That's
They're
like
a lot more believable.
yeah, exactly. Like The Thing. Oh my god.
I have not watched The Thing yet. My girlfriend keeps recommending it to me.
That is an amazing movie.
I'm definitely gotta check it out. But like, in terms of having a battery on my hand, I would be, of course, worried of it exploding or like any of the fuel cells inside, like cracking and like getting battery acid anywhere.
All you're really doing is welding.
Okay, fair.
Well, before we get into Cody's topic, I kind of have a couple interesting movies as well that I kind of thought it was fun on the 2 topics that you guys selected to kind of mix them together. And I got a couple quick little facts about cursed movies. There's one movie that's considered the deadliest film ever made, and it's called Antrum, maybe Antrum, not sure. But apparently this movie was screened at a theater in Budapest in 1988, and it basically, the theater burnt down to the ground while the movie was screened, and it killed 56 people. But then also a number of film festival programmers were sent the movie, and they died shortly after screening them. They say just the movie itself is cursed.
So like, you just shouldn't watch it,
Okay.
or you should.
Yeah.
I mean,
It all depends on what you're like. Are you having the spicy sadness? So you're just like, yep, I'm putting this movie in.
the spicy sadness.
Well, I'll put it this way: it's definitely not true. It's very unfortunate that especially the theater where 56 people passed away. That's a lot of people. That's a very tragic event. But when you send it to a number of film festival programmers and like a few died shortly after, unless this is the worst movie producers of all time that only sent it to 3 festivals instead of the thousands they could send it to, this, it's just a weird coincidence that a few of them died after seeing it, mixed in with the Budapest screening. So me
Wow.
personally, I think it's total bullshit, but yeah, deadliest film
Yeah.
ever made.
Oh no, a curse. Well, I mean, speaking of fires, I believe there was also a fire during the what was it? The Exorcist, during the filming. So allegedly, Linda Blair, who played Reagan on The Exorcist, claimed that there was a curse invoked onto the set of the movie while filming. The set caught on fire, and pretty much everything burnt down except for "quote unquote" Reagan's bedroom, which just so happened to be the set for The Possession, which is kind of also like another one of those weird coincidences. But I think at that point you're kind of like splitting hairs, like oh well, it's specifically this room. But I do think that like there's always some sort of weird association with horror movies and the shit catching on fire, like whether it's at a screenplay of theater or during on set. There's always something weird about like fire. And I mean, maybe that's just a sign that like all of these Hollywood producers, they're going to hell, man.
And then the last, well, I had a few other ones, but I'll just do one more before we get into cursed objects. And that is Steven Spielberg thought his copy of Paranormal Activity was haunted.
Whoa.
He got freaked out when he went to take it to his screening room, and the bedroom that he was in with the movie locked by itself. And so I think I read he didn't watch it. I don't remember that in particular, but I think he didn't end up watching it, but he carried it back to work in a trash bag.
Wow.
That's gonna stop all the spooks.
Yeah.
I guess so.
If I put it in the stretch plastic bag.
He should have tried having sex with the ghost before. Like, it probably locked the door for a reason. It was like, hey,
Do you guys like not remember as a kid when watching Ghostbusters, but now as an adult and you watch it like that like he totally got a blowjob from a ghost? Like,
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. That was
a wild
yeah,
experience.
but like, I mean that's definitely what the scene is and what happens. But like as a kid, never even interpreted that at
No,
all.
because you're just grooving with the music that's going on. You're like, I ain't afraid of no ghost.
Yeah, I ain't
As
afraid
he's
of no
just
ghost
O-facing.
schlong.
The ghost like, I ain't afraid to swallow.
Oh my god.
You want to see this gack?
It's like Ectoplasm is like a modern day Bukkake film.
Oh my god. I mean, that's what I call deadhead right there.
I'm just ready for Ghost Humpers 4.
Ghost
Search
Humpers?
for more ectoplasm. Yeah.
Is that my ectoplasm on you?
And then, I said that was the last one, but actually, I want to throw one more out there before Cursed
Go
Objects.
for it.
And that's not really so those were kind of like cursed movies, but I really found it interesting, the idea of what would be considered like a cursed movie set. And where I really landed was not actually even a horror movie. It is a beloved film, The Wizard of Oz. I'm just going to quickly spout out a bunch of random shit, and you guys can say whatever you want, but I just thought this was crazy. So Buddy Ebsen, who played the Tin Man, got an iron lung from all the aluminum in the powder. The Wicked Witch had copper in her makeup, so she had to be on a liquid diet to avoid the incredibly toxic chemicals that if she ate food that could get ingested, which was Margaret Hamilton. Margaret Hamilton also got a bunch of third-degree burns from messed up stunts. She, after healing in the hospital for months, she came back, but only if she could not work with fire. Her stunt double, who Betty Danko, who replaced those stunts, got 11 injuries. The snow-filled scene with Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion, they were pouring asbestos. That's what the snow was.
What?
It was just asbestos.
What?
Yeah.
What?
This Ray Bolgers, who played the Scarecrow, the prosthetics were so heavy that he nearly suffocated several times, and his face became permanently scarred. Judy Garland was treated terribly by the producers. They referred to her as a fat little piggy. The director also had her on a strict diet of black coffee, diet pills, chicken soup, and 80 cigarettes a day.
Ooh, that's more than I could handle for sure. I can only do about like upwards of 10 at most. My goodness.
Apparently, a lot of the actors that played the Munchkins also, she claims that they sexually assaulted her, like putting their hands up her dress and stuff. I guess because they were like already down towards the ground.
Well, could you just hold on? Could you just imagine like getting surrounded by a bunch of Munchkins, and they're all like grabbing at your ass and just like, oh hey.
Um,
I mean, I saw that movie.
Covered in Thousand Island dressing.
And then, yeah, 5 midgets spanking a man. Yeah. And then lastly, just on the Munchkin thing, and then there's the urban legend of the Munchkin suicide, where there's a scene in the movie where a Munchkin is supposedly had killed himself by noose and is swinging like in the trees in the background. And there's a really, really awesome video by someone on YouTube named ALC Media. And I really enjoyed this video because I've done video editing and whatnot in Photoshop and all this stuff. And he goes in depth why it's all fake. He like analyzes all of the different videos of them that are out there, and he's so good. If you know these programs and you know what he's talking about, you can definitely see why it's fake. And so it's totally fake. But I grew up with that legend. I remember talking about that all the time. Like, did you know that? Like, oh my God, it's crazy. And then someone later in more of the digital age, like, made that with computer graphics. But it really was an urban legend for a long time.
What an interesting legend to have to like. I know there's like a lot of legends that are out there when it comes to that kind of thing. Like it's always like someone like committed suicide on the film set, and then if you look in the background and like red circle goes like around the specific area, and it like shows like a bunch of little pixels, it's like you can clearly make out this dead body, and it's like, but it's just pixels. Like I can't tell what you're talking about. Yeah, it's
Are we
like
seeing the same thing?
maybe, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, man.
We'll be back after this break.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So, this next little subject we got, I think it's Cody that's going to be taking over. Is that you, Cody?
Yep, that's me.
Okay. And what are you going to be talking about today?
Well, today I want to talk about cursed objects. That's right.
Okay, so shit you're going to touch and I'm not going to touch.
Pretty much. Might as well do that on my own time, right?
That's what my ex-wife said.
Bum. All right, so I went down this crazy rabbit hole. So in order to understand what a cursed object is, we should go to the experts. So I went to a website called CatholicAnswers.com.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, oh my God, who's the expert? I got it.
Yes, CatholicAnswers.com. And this article was written by Tom Nash, but I'm going to be reading a segment of it that was actually from a guy named Adam Blai, I believe, Blai. Adam Blai's book, and it is from Hauntings, Possessions, and Exorcisms, page 45. It could also be a website. Didn't dig too far into this rabbit hole, but here is what Adam had to say. A curse is simply a demon sent to do some harm. Cursed objects are objects that are the opposite of blessing done to them. Instead of grace being attached to an object to make it holy, a demon has been attached to that object and make it associated with evil.
Oh. I'm glad we have the Catholic perspective on this.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, okay, so coming from like a non-religious standpoint, I do find it interesting, though, from a religious standpoint, to understand like what a curse is. And I liked the concept of like, because we all know about like holy water, right? That is water that is blessed. It's a blessed object, so to speak, or like a crucifix. So when there are blessed objects, I think it's interesting that in Catholicism, according to this Adam Blai person, that like there are also cursed objects that are essentially implying that there is a duality. And I do kind of like that. I think it's very interesting. Now, Tom Nash of CatholicAnswers.com wrote, as for dream catchers, they hypothetically could become cursed or impacted otherwise by a demon, but we should not become preoccupied with such matters, instead just trust in our Lord and his church. So, of course, immediately goes for another fucking culture, just like, fuck dream catchers. Like, right out the gate, this fucking guy. Like, I can't believe, like, his ass. Like, first off, your people, like, slaughtered a bunch of Native Americans, and now, like, you're gonna shit on their dream catchers too? What a guy. Like, fuck.
I mean, those were the only people protected from Freddy.
Fair.
It's true. Wow. So
but, like, we don't understand why Freddy got all the Catholics first. Like, all the fucking like Native Americans are sitting there like, Suckers. Should have had a dream catcher.
Yeah, what is that? What is that? A cross? Like, could you imagine if Jesus died from like sticking his head in a microwave? You're going to be wearing a necklace with a microwave everywhere. Is that what you're going to be doing? Like, come on.
Some sweet swag.
Sweet. Yeah, check it out, dude. In
Chain hang low.
Yo, dude, how much radiation does your necklace put out, bro?
But I think the best cursed object story I found that is not in like the public eye too often is Thomas Busby's chair. It is said to be cursed by Thomas himself right before he was executed by hanging in 1702 for strangling his father-in-law to get to death. I'm sure we've all been there.
I want to know why he strangled him.
I want to know that too. So allegedly, 63 people died after sitting in his chair. So in 1972, the Thirsk Museum in Thirsk, England, made it mandatory to not sit on that chair as a result of the death that supposedly happened to the people who sat on it. So that's a very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, but
everyone does eventually die, though. So, like,
right.
You know, if you sit in a chair and then you're like, is this like people died the next day or they just died? Because if they all just eventually died, I don't think it's really a cursed object more than just, life.
Yeah, it's all like 100-year-olds that sit in the chair and they just died of natural causes the next night.
Right, and
yeah.
It's just a lot of like allegedlys and supposedlys with cursed objects. I do think that there's some validity.
A lot of myth
to
and
them.
legend, yeah.
Yeah, I love the concept of cursed objects, but like the thing that's interesting about Thomas Busby's case is that it was him himself who cursed his chair. Even after death, he didn't want people sitting in his goddamn chair. I get it. Just like, get off my fucking chair. But like, the thing is that like, that implies that there is a power that is beyond like human understanding, but deep rooted in human evolution. So essentially it's saying that like, he cursed that object himself right before death. And I think that maybe the adrenaline of like, you're about to, fucking like hang for treason and like you're gonna shit yourself while you're hanging, a lot of dead people shit themselves, by the way, look it up. So
well, I would think that you would think that the story of a chair being cursed from execution would be that it was like electrocuted in the chair. Like when you said his chair, that's the first place my mind went. And so that's kind of an interesting fact too. And that probably has to just do more with like, movies and media, and kind of how we see stories presented over the years. But it's interesting that his death wasn't actually involved with the chair. His dude just really liked his chair.
I guess so.
My spot.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it was a rocking chair. Well, what else is kind of interesting is that a lot of people hang themselves by utilizing a chair. So like that's just kind of a fun little connection I just made in my brain on the spot there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's usually self
yeah, self-inflicted gunshot wound to
it still
the
just
face.
doesn't it still just comes back to this guy had to just really like his chair. Because he was hung, like that was his execution method, so like they would have taken him somewhere, right?
That's why he killed his father-in-law. His father-in-law fucking sat in his goddamn chair. Like it all makes sense.
I said it was my spot as he's like stabbing him,
Jesus. Wow,
respect my things.
Well, there's another haunted chair in Zach Bagans' Las Vegas like haunted museum. He has like cursed objects and like a shit ton of them, supposedly, air quotes everywhere when it comes to this stuff. But like I did like how it it seemed like a really cool museum. I would love to visit it if I ever went to Vegas, but I really just don't like Nevada. But hey, whatever.
So question though, would
Yes.
you? I mean, most museums nowadays they won't let you do this type of stuff. But if you could sit in the chair, if you went and visited it, would you sit in the chair?
In order to get an accurate representation of like if this shit is real or not, I would definitely, just because I think like as most humans should be, we should be truth seekers, and sometimes it takes a bunch of dumbasses like myself to take the risk. And I think I would sit in the chair. There was a chair. So the chair in Zach Bagans' fucking museum apparently was like a chair used during an exorcism, and I don't remember all of the details, but it was there was like literal oil stains on the cushion part, and that was from like the holy oil during the exorcism. So like there is some validity to the actual story behind that chair. I did think it was a little creepy that Zach decided to keep it in this like really tiny room inside of a room. Like, why the fuck would you? It's already creepy enough, but like, and he has it like surrounded with a bunch of like religious like statues and like rosary beads and stuff like that in order to prevent maybe anything from leaving. And the whole concept in Zach's mind, from what I got from the interview, was that like cursed objects, like the energy never leaves. So it's kind of going off of like the like matter is never destroyed. It's only transformed. So I think that maybe he's kind of implying the same thing in terms of energy, and that could be positive and negative. Which is also kind of tying back to the CatholicAnswers.com things that we got. Even though he shat on dream catchers, maybe he has a point. Like, if like, you know, spirits like this and whatnot are like real and there are actually curses out there, that would be fucking wild, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, I have one cursed item to give you as well.
Ooh.
I found an interesting one, and it is a cursed cauldron. It is
Whoa.
Mother Ludlam's cauldron. She's also known as the White Witch of Waverley. So this takes place in England, in the Wey Valley, and apparently at Moore Park in Farnham, there's a sweeping sandstone cliff with a small, unassuming cave. The location is said to once be the realm of fairies, and the springs that were there possess strange, mystical healing waters.
So like the fairy fountains in Legend of Zelda? You're just like,
Yeah, yeah.
you're just going in there.
There's like a witch boss with a cauldron. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
So apparently, this Mother Ludlam lived with the fairies, and this took place during the 17th century, and people would go to her to borrow very common like household items or cooking utensils. But to borrow something from her, you'd have to go to this cave at midnight. You'd have to turn around 3 times, as well as request the item 3 times, and you would be granted the item, and you had exactly 2 days to return it. And the legend kind of goes into detail of people doing this fairly often. It was very helpful. In a way, she's almost like a good guy. She's like the person that like gives everyone what they need. Then the story continues on that then finally one day someone went there and asked to borrow the cauldron, and this is like the thing that she would use to brew her potions and concoctions. You know, like this is a witch's like, you know, prized possession, right?
Right.
And they didn't return it. It didn't go into much detail about how she cursed it, but then apparently Mother Ludlam cursed the cauldron, and it just basically kind of says it freaked out the person that had it so much that they rushed it over to the Farnham church, and that is where the cauldron lives today. It is actually on display there, and I guess they took it there to like be blessed or to, you know, like break whatever evil curse that it might had. But there wasn't detail, but I really wish I like, you know, knew what those curses were.
That's interesting that it's being kept at a church instead of a museum, but I bet like every sermon there is like, all right, so remember, this is bad and this is good. And they're like showing two different items. One's a crucifix, the other is the cauldron. And they're just like, bad, good.
I know I can go learn more about it on CatholicAnswers.com.
Absolutely. Thanks, CatholicAnswers.com.
Well, and then actually, speaking to the more religious side of the story, since we're talking about it, there's another version of the story where the borrower of the cauldron was actually the devil, and that Mother Ludlam saw through the devil's disguise, but the devil stole it anyway, and then, like, in very mythical fashion, like, leaped away with jumps, and and the devil jumped 3 times, and it created the hills in the valley, and there's 3 of them, and that those hills are referred to as the devil's jumps.
Huh.
Okay. What?
Well, it's just kind of, we've already kind of talked about a little bit about how myth and legend create stories and all this stuff. So
That's so interesting.
I mean, 17th century, you know what I mean? Like you're like, everyone grows up and they're like, oh yeah, that's the devil's jumps over there. There's, I can't think of a good example at the moment, but I remember there being like weird mountain names, and also there's a mountain in the Bay Area where Nick and I grew up called Mount Diablo. It's the mountain of the devil,
Mm-hmm. Well, it was the same with like those areas near our home, like Hell's Gate and Slaughterhouse, that had all its myths and everything of spooky stayaways.
Definitely very, very localized legends. But yeah, Gravity Hill.
Yeah.
It's just like you go your car, if you put it on neutral, it'll go up the hill.
It looks like you're going uphill. It's just an optical illusion.
Is that what it was? Because I don't remember.
Yeah, so like the area where you stop and like put your vehicle in neutral looks like you're going uphill, when in actuality it's just kind of level and you're just moving forward because of the weight of the vehicle.
Oh, like the pavement just got wider or something.
Yeah.
It just
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like stuff, like those kind of local legends in Oregon as well. Like of course we have the famous one, fucking Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And like, oh man, there's actually so many people here who like legitimately believe in Bigfoot. Now, to be fair, I have been in the Oregon woods quite a lot, and I have definitely heard some weird shit out there, but the rule is that you don't fuck with it. You don't get closer. Don't fuck with it.
I feel like that's a rule everywhere.
it's like horror movie rules.
Yeah, I mean that is horror movie rules, but you have to live like that here in Oregon with all of these cryptids running around trying to, steal your schmeckles and pull down your pants and give you ghost blow jobs, like, you never
Ghost
really
job?
know.
What a
Ghost job. It's just a ghost with a fucking construction hard hat.
Oh, I got one. Is it a boo job?
Oh my god.
Ooh.
Ooh. That's pretty cool. Sorry.
No, speaking of nature, I actually found a cursed piece of nature.
Ooh.
What? Oh, tell more, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So in England, I feel like a lot of things happen in England when it comes to cursed objects and cursed things.
Land
Seeing a
of the
trend.
cursed.
Yeah.
Whoa. Don't
yeah,
piss him
in
off
the-
now.
There's a ancient oak called the Chained Oak. It's in Staffordshire, England. It's covered in like rusted out chains and everything by now because of when this, like the time that this happened. So an earl in Shrewsbury, I guess was what used to be called or something like that. He was traveling through his town and an old lady had asked him for a penny and he just dismissed her completely. So it stated that she cursed the earl, stating that every branch that fell from this old oak tree, a family member of his would perish.
Ooh,
And
right.
turns out that night there was a storm and it ripped one of the limbs off. And the next morning, the earl woke up to one of his family members had passed away horribly. So he bound the whole oak tree in chains so that no more branches would fall.
Wow.
Jeez, talk about a penny for your thoughts.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, well, and it's also like the tree is a representation of a family tree, you know? So, and like
Yeah.
once one of those branches is cut off, metaphorically or physically, it's like, you know, you lost someone. So that's, you know, maybe it's more of like a tale, you know, like a
Yeah.
cautionary tale. Like be nice to old women who ask you for fucking pennies, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe she just didn't have to be such a petty bitch about it. I don't know. Fuck.
Well, it's a really fun concept for like a curse story, like how a curse has like more meaning behind it. A physical tree tied to a family tree, like that is a really cool concept.
Yeah, well, and also I think that, like, I imagined, like, corroded, like, rusted chains around this really big oak tree, and I was just like, man, that is so fucking metal, dude.
So you could definitely make a whole movie about that. In fact, all I did was Google the chained oak, and there's some really fucking cool pictures about it.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to check those out for sure.
Yeah, I want to learn more for sure. Mm-hmm. It's almost like what we should do and then present information on a podcast.
We
All right, almost. You could say that.
All right,
episode
well,
in itself.
we're out of time for cursed objects. Thank you everyone for listening. We had a good time. Hope you enjoyed listening. Please make sure to rate us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. In the early days, that's the best thing that you can do to support our podcast is just go mark some 5 stars, hit follow.
And also, be sure to share it with your friends who have way too much bush hair.
Y'all have an amazing Hallows Eve, and I can't wait to see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.